And we'll be live in three, two, one. Hello, Titans fans. Welcome back to the Two Tone Crew. This is episode 139. I am one of your hosts, John Boy, and joining me tonight for our season preview episode. That's right, the preseason is finally done, and we can get on to some real games. Scotty, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back, John. Ready for the season.
That's right, and Jamal is back with us once again as well.
I am. I'm a little disappointed. I was hoping, and for a while it looked like I would. I was hoping I'd be able to give you a rather good bit of harassment about Purdue beating Louisville, but
It was close for
well,
a while. Yeah.
I'll take the moral victory, I guess. Purdue football's been down for long enough that actually looking like they might not be completely terrible is an improvement, kind of like the Titans last year, I guess.
Yeah. No, they looked good. I think they looked, a lot better than what people were giving them credit for. That's for sure. And yeah, just wrapped up two fantasy football drafts back to back. So we're doing a little late night recording. I think you had some drafts tonight too, right, Jamal?
Yeah, I had the draft with friends and family. I don't like my draft. Very disappointing. This is one, there's no money involved. It's just pride.
Yeah.
And that means I have more to risk than most.
Well, I'm only in two leagues this year, and my Yahoo league, that's kind of my for fun league. I've been in that league for years, and it gave me a D, which I always get like B's or A's on Yahoo.
That just means you're going to win your league.
Oh,
Yahoo projections are terrible.
well, I think the reason they rated me so bad is I was the 11th pick, and it's like a 14 team league, and so somehow LaShawn McCoy fell to 11, so I took him at 11. And then I turned around and took Zeke with my next pick because I'm thinking he's not going to serve hardly anything. But that's probably why they rated me so low.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have a team that I drafted the other day, and it gave me an A and said I was going to go 12-1. And I didn't even have a
Nice.
defense or a kicker yet. So it's like, what am I looking at? I always assumed they looked at like what are you going to score each week?
Right.
Apparently not, because I'm missing gimme points from defenses and kickers. So who knows? But yeah, I tried to get Zeke in basically every league, and I finally got him tonight. So
Mm.
that was good. And I have a lot of depth at running back, but we were talking about before the show. I'm dead at quarterback, and it's a 2 quarterback league. So I'm just so screwed. I couldn't even get like Deshaun Kaiser at the
Oh,
end.
man.
I was like, okay, at least maybe I'll have like maybe he'll catch fire. Hugh Jackson, come on. And then somebody took him. I was like, what? No. Why? There's people with 4 quarterbacks. And
What
I've
about your
got
teams? Oh, sorry. I was going to say, what about your team, Scotty?
Uh, so. I had the draft about 2 weeks ago. I can't even remember who's on my team right now.
I feel like
I set the lineups and haven't even looked again.
most people are coming out of the draft are usually pumped and excited, but I don't know. I'm kind of I can always spot the weakness immediately. And I posted my ESPN team. That's kind of my main league. I posted it on Twitter, and I've gotten 4 votes so far on my poll, and everyone's given me a B. So I guess not terrible.
everyone's giving
um,
you a B. So you do A, B, C, D.
yeah, yeah,
See, I always have to reserve a spot for Shut Up Jamal. And limiting
that's
polls
great.
to only 3 options then is really annoying, actually.
Well, enough about fantasy football. Let's talk some Titans because, as we said in the opening, there preseason is finally complete. And as we are the official podcast of TitansReport.com, it's time to get back to our week to week show. And this week is our season preview episode. So this is where we're going to give record predictions. Of course, we'll predict the first game, give our thoughts on that, and overall thoughts on the preseason and kind of where the team's at now. Of course, the big news today, everybody's talking about the 53-man roster. A little bit different this year. They don't have that first cut down day. So it was just yesterday and some today where they made all the cuts. No big surprises for the Titans. I think it was some people were shocked that they cut Woods, but he's already back on the practice squad. And then probably the other big one is, of course, what everything's been happening at wide receiver. So Tajay Sharp goes to injured reserve. And to be clear, because there was a little confusion about that at first, to be clear, he was put on IR and technically didn't make the team, so he cannot come back. He's not one of the players that can come back. Harry Douglas, they turn around today and put him on IR. However, he was on the initial 53-man roster, which means that he can come back. So it's basically they had 2 injured receivers, and if they had a choice to picking which one to come back, they went with Harry Douglas. Weems was brought back. He was originally cut, so he has been signed now. So only 5 wide receivers when you count Weems, and he's probably not much of a receiver. So we're looking at 4, and I got to think they're feeling pretty confident about Corey Davis and Eric Decker, don't you guys? At least I hope so.
I've thought that for a couple of weeks now. I think they just shut him down, and they've been waiting for preseason to be over.
Yeah, I think especially Decker, they're probably pretty comfortable with where he's at. Davis is always a little bit more of a question mark because he missed a little bit of time early too, and then he's been not practicing. But I think that they probably have a pretty good take on how they're going to use him early and then ramp him up to full-time usage, and they're comfortable with it. So we'll see. I'm surprised they don't have – I mean, really, they have 4 wide receivers, like you said. I'm surprised the number is that low. But, I mean, they're emphasizing special teams this year, which, given last year, is not a bad idea.
They wouldn't only have 4 wide receivers if they didn't think Decker and Davis could contribute.
Yeah, I would hope not. And there's still time. I mean, guys are still kind of being cut. They could pick somebody up. I wonder if they're going to pick somebody up to fulfill that Harry Douglas role until he can get back, just to kind of be that guy who's not usually going to be active. But if something happened and someone went down, you could plug him in the next week. Because Douglas, I mean, he is what he is. He's not a starter in this league, but he can play all the positions, as they always talk about. He's a good veteran locker room leader, and I think he's even kind of hinted at maybe getting into coaching after he's done. So it's clear they value him. And, we talked early on, I think back in the draft, we talked about, would Douglas be gone? And when they took Davis and then Taywan Taylor, I think most people thought he was gone, but Mularkey really seems to like his leadership. So he's still with the team. It remains to be seen how long he ends up being out. But just kind of wrap up the preseason as a whole, I think the biggest thing is no major injuries. I know we were talking about 2 IRs right there off the bat, but no major injuries overall. And I think going in for any team in the preseason, that's always the number one goal. As we saw with the Bears, their number 1 wide receiver went down in the game against us, and Titans escaped the preseason pretty much unscathed. So I know that was our number 1 goal, and that was the team's number 1 goal as well. So point number 1 accomplished.
Yeah. Any other point you had must have failed, because it was an abomination otherwise.
Yeah. I was starting off positive, so no injuries. Yay.
Honestly, the other positive is Jayon Brown was a positive. I don't know that you have a whole lot more after that. Or Dory Jackson looks like he'll be able to return the football, but you knew that was going to be the case. So Jayon Brown was a pleasant surprise for me.
Jonnu Smith looked equally impressive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think after the draft, I was saying he was the one pick that surprised me, because I thought of him as more of a receiver, and I thought they needed a blocking tight end, and he's by no means a true blocking tight end, but I think he acquitted himself pretty well. I can see why they took him.
Thing about Jonnu is you cannot find any highlights on that guy or any footage. I mean, there's very little out there, because after we drafted him, and even before we drafted him, I had tried to find some stuff on him, because he was one of the guys that they brought in for a visit, and kind of alarm bells went off when you go to NFL.com and his player comparison is Delanie Walker, and I can totally see that now that we've gotten to see him line up and play for the team. Yeah, he's been a pleasant surprise, along with Jayon Brown. I think Jayon Brown's going to be a factor right away. Mularkey's already been talking a little bit about that in press conferences, and Adoree Jackson, of course, I think definitely going to be returning punts, maybe kicks as well. We'll see. But yeah, like you kind of hinted at it, Jamal. But I mean, other than that, there wasn't really a lot to be excited about, and I think we stress this every year, whether the Titans look good or bad, that it's preseason, and you can go 4-0 in the preseason, 0-4, and it really doesn't have all that much of a factor on the year unless you're getting guys hurt. But I will say this: they certainly didn't do a lot to excite us any more than we were already.
No,
to put it mildly.
No, I mean, the thing for me with the preseason is usually I hardly pay attention to the games beyond just kind of looking to see, did certain people flash a little bit? For instance, Taywan Taylor is another one who I think
there you go.
He had some positives this preseason that you can say, okay, maybe he will be a contributor. Maybe he really will be able to take the step this year. But then, you look at, I always look for people to win some just one-on-one battles. You're not scheming. You want the offensive line to do well, and we didn't do that, but I don't really care ultimately.
A week from today, no one will even think one way or another about the preseason. Once one real game gets played, it'll be forgotten forever.
Yeah, and it's not like the first game's going to be a test right out of the gate. So there's not going to be much room for debate after that. I mean, we'll know where the Titans stand this time next week. We'll have a pretty good idea of what kind of team they're going to field, at least early in the year.
They cut 3 guys that were either starting or first off the bench in the 3rd preseason game, which is supposed to be the dress rehearsal. So, I mean, what does that tell you?
Yeah, so it's all about the Raiders now. I mean, finishing out the preseason, now all the attention turns to the Raiders. And like I was saying there, I mean, they're a solid team, a popular preseason pick to go pretty far this year. And they've got Marshawn Lynch. Who knows? Who knows what he's going to look like after taking a year off, if he steps right where he left off. I'm pretty sure they signed Jared Cook as well. There's a couple additions that they made. Of course, we know about Crabtree and Amari Cooper. Titans have played them, I think, the past 2 seasons and have played them close in both games, lost both games, if I remember right, but have played them close both times. And I would kind of expect the same thing this time. I think we're looking at another close game. We talked about this last year when it happened. Derek Carr and Mariota both coming off the broken leg. So this will be the first regular season game back for both of those guys. And, like I said, right out of the gate, I think this is going to give us a much better barometer than the preseason certainly did as to where the Titans are. So how do you guys feel about this game? I mean, the thread over on TitansReport.com seems to be overwhelmingly positive in the Titans' favor. I know I haven't seen any of us vote in there yet, but most people feel the Titans are going to win the game.
Titans fans love the Titans. There's a surprise.
I was waiting for the podcast.
Yeah, same here.
I'll tell you what the Vegas line and what the bettors think.
We're favored, right?
Oakland opened up as a 1-point favorite, and as of right now, multiple books have the Titans as a 2-point favorite, and all the other books have them at 1 or 1.5, so they're favored across the board now. People are betting on the Titans, even after the preseason.
Yeah, it shows how much they cared about that.
And I do think the Titans will win. I'm picking the Titans. I think the Raiders are not nearly as improved as the Titans are. And, I mean, the Titans came a Taylor Lewan penalty away from possibly winning last year.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We've been talking so much, at least on Titans Report, not on the podcast. There's been a lot of talk about how Mularkey really didn't show anything. I mean, we did not get to see the offense at full strength at all. Even if you take into account them running just vanilla, not really doing much, we didn't see Corey Davis, Eric Decker, Rashard Matthews, and Delaney Walker on the field together. DeMarco Murray, too. I mean, a lot of those guys did not play a number of games during the preseason. Who knows what they were doing with the offensive line? I think if you look at just preseason, you say, that could be something to worry about. We didn't run the ball very well. Who knows how they're going to do the blocking scheme once the season gets started? Because last year, I know they gave a lot of help. That was a big thing among a lot of people sort of critiquing Conklin, talking about how he got a lot of help. And I think they're going to do less of that this year, but who knows sort of how that's all going to shake out. But yeah, I think Mularkey is ready to unleash the offense. And if Davis is, it's hard to say. Like you said, Decker, I feel like they're pretty confident on. I think they've known on him for a while that he'd be ready. He's a veteran. He doesn't need these preseason reps. He was coming off an injury from last year as well, so you want to be safe. Davis, I don't really know. It's hard to say with hamstrings because they're so, they can linger for a while. But it wouldn't shock me at all. If Davis is healthy, it would not shock me at all if they come out targeting him a lot just out of the gate in this first game. Because, I mean, he was the fifth overall pick in the draft. That's not a guy that you want to ease in unless, of course, it's injury. I mean, I think he's going to be expected to contribute right away. So I really can't wait to see what they do on offense to start out.
A couple of trick plays.
Oh yeah, I'm expecting it.
even if it's Taylor over Davis, Taylor is still an upgrade over what they had last year.
Absolutely. I think it'll be interesting to see what they do with the offense. I had thought and gotten the sense they would go to more of a passing attack, right? But I don't know that that's going to happen, especially when you look at the wide receivers they've got on the roster right now. Just the count of it, that at least makes me come back a little bit. So I think they're going to be pretty similar to what you saw last year, and it's something they're effective at. Especially if DeMarco Murray is healthy. I harped on a lot last year where I didn't think he was close to the same back because of his foot. And if he's healthy, I think that we are a offense that's very hard to stop if we actually have wide receivers who can get separation.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard because, like I said, we haven't seen any of those guys together yet. But when you look at it on paper, I mean, you guys talking about Taywan Taylor, I don't know that the preseason benefited anyone more than it did Taywan Taylor because he got a ton of reps that, I mean, with first team that he may not have gotten otherwise. I think Mularkey even said that. I mean, he just got so many reps. That one game, I mean, they were handing the ball to him, pitching the ball, doing reverses. I mean, they were getting him involved all over the field, trying to throw as much as they could at him. And I mean, I think that's going to be invaluable for him. Yeah, like you said, Scotty, I mean, even if Davis isn't 100%, Decker can play outside or inside. So they should be. But then surely Davis is close to 100% because, man, if one of those guys went down in game, then all of a sudden you're looking at, I think you'd play Jonnu or Supernaw at receiver before they would put Weems out there. I don't know.
Well, they're not going to play a bunch of 4 wide receiver sets anyway at one time. So I think there's a little much being made of the fact they've only got 4 healthy receivers.
Well, no, I think the thing is, if you get an injury, it's not necessarily in the one game. It's then you're picking somebody up off the street, right? Or you're taking somebody from the practice squad. You don't have somebody else who you consider a quality wide receiver who you can plug in. You just don't have it.
But did you have it before the cut downs?
Douglas, I mean, he's exactly that.
Well, Douglas was injured, supposedly.
Right.
I mean, if he's injured, he's injured. That's not a choice.
Right. I think a lot of people would say
fill that role.
Yeah, I think a lot of people thought, and I've never been too impressed with him, but a lot of people would have said, well, Trey McBride, why would you let him go? He's got value. Tajae Sharpe, why wouldn't you put him on the IR after the first 53? That way you can bring him back like you're going to do with Douglas. Some people would have thought those guys could be contributors once they're given the opportunity. I don't know that I would agree with that. I don't know that they had other guys who are really quality wide receivers options that they could bring back. But I think just seeing it cut down to the point where it's 4 guys plus Weems, it kind of just puts it in perspective of, they don't really have a lot of depth here. They just have a lot better top guys.
I'm talking more in about how they're going to run their offense. I don't think it necessarily means that they're not going to open up the offense more just because they've only got 4 healthy quality guys. If they had a 5th and 6th receiver on the roster, would that make a difference in how they're going to execute the offense? I don't think so. It would just it would just, if they get injured, they possibly would have a better player to come in, but
they could go 3 wide receivers on the field just a little bit more, and it would be a pretty significant difference. I guess I agree with that. You're making a good point.
All right, let's look at the other side of the ball. When the Raiders have the ball, Titans are on defense. So Raiders pretty much, I mean, we know about Derek Carr. We know about Amari Cooper. We know about Crabtree. They add Jared Cook. They add Marshawn Lynch to the mix there. So, I mean, they've got the looks of a pretty formidable offense. And I got to be honest, I'm not comfortable with the cornerback situation at all. Haven't been all off season. And it's like we've been talking all off season on Titans Report about this, about how the cornerbacks are going to shake out, once we actually start lining up on the field. Of course, they're going to help. They're not going to leave Adoree Jackson out there by himself. At least I really hope not. But what they do have, and I think we all agree, is that they've certainly improved their ability to get turnovers. So, and what I've always said is, LaShawn Sims and Adoree Jackson, at the very least, even if they're on par with Cox and McCourty from last year, at the very least they have a fair amount more upside than either one of those guys. But especially in the first game, I'm worried about it because I don't know. I just don't think we can cover all the Raiders' weapons, to be honest.
I think the secondary in the back seven is one of the main spots where you really could gauge nothing in the preseason. I think the back seven is vastly improved with Brown, Cyprien, Logan Rhines in the slot. And I think Kevin Byard is going to be awesome at free safety.
They've talked about him that way, at least, for sure.
And the cornerbacks are going to be way better than Cox and McCourty. Even if they give up plays and get beat, it's not going to – what happened last year, it's easy to forget how bad they were.
Well, and I mean, you don't even have to move away from safety so quick. You look at what they had last year and what they have this year. I think Cyprien getting added, even somebody like Trawick, he's a special teamer, but they also talk about him in that he's more than just a special teamer. I think they've got some bodies there that they can play some games, and then getting to a post that you made on TitansReport.com, Scotty. The pass rush, if that improves, that's going to help out the secondary quite a bit as well. And I think there's good reason to think it may improve this year.
Really? See, I think the exact opposite. Because, I mean, our pass rushers, our big guys are who?
Arakpo
and Morgan.
First. Casey.
Yeah, Casey. Of course, Casey's going to be there, but he gets lots of pressures. He doesn't get many sacks.
Somebody made a post, and I already thought this: pressures are more important than sacks. If you're getting pressure on the quarterback,
that's the case, then Morgan should be the greatest OLB of all time, man. No,
he does get good pressures.
Yeah. No, it's true.
He's always the guy that's almost there. Yeah, I just don't see any reason to think they're going to be better though, because Arakpo and Morgan are both getting older. They're both have a huge injury history. And then behind them, what do we got? Not much.
Dodd has not obviously been impressive, but Wallace could be better. Klug's back. Curtis Klug.
I think Wallace
is looked pretty good.
I think Wallace has a chance to contribute there. And then I think Dodd, I guess my hope for that is that he just has to work himself back into shape. Like he's healthy, but he's not really there yet.
The other guy, Walden, who I think they were pretty high on, didn't really use him all that much in the preseason. So, I mean, that could be a guy that I think is going to be playing a lot more than we would expect.
If the pass rush is still around the same as last year, it's the coverage that was terrible last year.
Oh
If the
yeah.
coverage is that much better with the same pass rush, it's still going to be way better pass defense. And I'll say it again. Byard over Cersei at free safety. That's a huge upgrade. And
Yeah.
Cersei over Stafford in the 3 safety looks is an
Right.
upgrade.
Exactly. I mean, and I think Cyprian has the ability to put Cersei down at the number 3. That's a big upgrade. He was your number 2 last year. And I don't think that he is necessarily worse than he was last year, right?
They didn't even play any of the 3 safety looks in preseason.
Right.
So, I mean, we haven't even seen the defense. We still don't even know who the third corner is for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I don't
let's
think
talk
we
about
have a
that. Let's dive in
guarantee
there.
of what they're even going to do in nickel. Like, are they actually going to move him inside? Like makes sense.
Talking
right?
about Ryan.
Yeah. Are they actually going to move him inside, or are they going to put somebody else inside and let him stay on outside? Because that would scare me a little bit more.
He's absolutely moving inside, I think.
I hope so.
There's no way they would not put him inside, I believe. I mean, that's what they signed him for.
I don't know. Because if you put him inside, then you're leaving, like, let's just take the Raiders, LaShawn Sims and Adoree Jackson probably on Crabtree and Cooper. Man, I don't like those matchups.
Ryan can't cover those guys.
That's my whole point.
He can't cover the Amari Cooper is going to be doubled. He's going to be bracketed.
Yep.
That's going to be done anyway.
They're going to get plenty of help. And yeah.
Okay, you can't double everybody, guys.
Well, that's why the Raiders have a good offense.
Exactly. That's why I think people aren't taking this game as
but they did it
seriously as they should be.
They did it somewhat last year with McCourty and Cox and McCain. I mean, they didn't give up 40-something points and 500 yards passing.
Yeah, that was actually almost a good defensive performance when you look at how Oakland fared over the course of their year.
By the way, John Boy, you know who I heard one of the Raiders' really improved weapons on offense is in the slot?
Who's that?
Cordell Patterson.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I forgot. That's the other guy they added. I knew there was one more.
He's supposedly been doing very well in the in training camp in the 3 receiver sets.
So I think I've talked about it on the podcast before. One of my really good friends is Asher Matthews, writes for Thoughts from the Dark Side, Raiders blog. And I've been asking him about Marshawn Lynch. And granted, he's going to be potentially as favorable to Oakland as Titans fans are when they're voting on who's going to win this game. You know, everybody thinks that their players are better than they really are. But he said he would be surprised if Marshawn Lynch wasn't going for 1,000 yards this year.
Oh, wow.
And getting catches besides. He thinks that he looks good, almost his normal self, and that they're going to give him a lot of carries.
I think we're looking at Marshawn Lynch this year about like we were AP last year against the Vikings.
Ooh.
Marshawn Lynch was terrible the last year he played with the
I
Raiders.
agree with that.
He was terrible.
He was not doing well.
Great year.
Yeah, he's probably roiding up again, though. He's ready.
He never stopped roiding it up.
See if I can find his.
Have you guys noticed?
Last year he only played in 7 games. 2015, he only played in 7 games.
Yeah, he got injured, and that was when
4 yards carry.
How many?
Under 4. It was 3.8.
And Rawls came in and looked awesome for a while before he got injured. Yeah, I'm not convinced on that, but that's the perspective that I've gotten is that he doesn't look like he's lost much, and
I'm glad
they're going to lean on him.
Because I was curious.
If it's true, that makes them pretty dangerous, because then you have the running element as well. But yeah, I don't know. I still haven't said who I think is going to win this game because
I haven't
I
either.
can't pick.
No, it's fine. I like lengthening this discussion. Do you guys think Khalil Mack gets a sack this year? Because last year the Titans shut him down.
Well, that's one of my points in the game. Their best defensive player will probably get nullified by Lewan again. Taylor Lewan can block him.
Yeah. I think he can too.
Even if he gets a sack, he's not going to disrupt the passing game all game.
Take over the game, yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to do that. He's going to possibly slip in once or twice, but he's nullified in this game.
What were you gonna say, Jamal?
I honestly just
You
think
lost it.
This is two up and coming teams that
Yeah, it's a hard game
their
to pick.
fortunes could absolutely take a step forward, or they could just show that they're not quite ready yet. I think between the two, the Titans are more likely to show that they're not ready yet, because I think that Oakland is a little bit more seasoned. But yeah, I don't know. I have not decided who I think is going to win this
last
game,
year,
which is
speaking
not
of
good.
season, the Raiders everybody was getting ready for them to go on a Super Bowl run. I mean, they were expected to play against the Patriots probably in the AFC title game, and
Right.
then Carr goes down, and that was it. Didn't they lose to the Texans or something?
Yeah.
in the
without Carr.
Yeah, without Carr, right?
A lot of people think they were severely overrated at 12-4 last year, though.
I remember reading that a lot of their wins were the type that you could look at and kind of put some questions on it, but the Titans are the same way.
Statistically, the Raiders are, I think it was according to Football Outsiders, the worst 12-4. They were 12-4, right? They were the worst 12-4 team based on a lot of analytic stuff, point differential, some of the other stuff. So,
like worst last year or worst in a long time?
Their last year's 12-4 team was one of the worst 12-4 teams ever in the NFL.
Oh, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, it does have. They were 12-4,
and their defense is still. Their defense was really bad last year, especially their pass defense.
Secondary, secondary's not that great.
And I just think the Titans are a more rounded team.
Yeah, I'm glad they have this game at home. One, because I'm going to go to it. And two, just because I think that gives them an advantage. Because don't we have? So
Does
I haven't. This isn't the Titans.
Does it give them an advantage?
I'll tell you this. I just bought some tickets, and based on the prices people are trying to sell those for, there's apparently some hype this year for once. So
I hope
stadium
so.
might actually have some Titans fans in it.
Yeah, I hope so. Because one more thing before we are forced to make our picks, Jamal. I think our newly revamped special teams is going to be tested right away too. We already talked about Patterson, and then the Raiders. I mean, didn't we? Two of the guys we signed were from the Raiders, right? Special team, Troy
Bates
and
Bates, yeah.
So it remains to be seen, are the Raiders, because the Raiders had a really good special teams coverage unit last year, and we took two of their guys. So who's going to win that battle in this game? Last year, you think about week one, I'm pretty sure all three of us picked the Titans, and I'm pretty sure the Titans would have won if not for a couple mistakes from our quarterback. And I don't know. I mean, I'm going to pick the Titans, I think. I could see it being a high-scoring game. Typically, at the beginning of the year, it takes teams a little while to get going. Something tells me they're both just going to come out with something to prove and just slinging it down the field, because I can't wait to see Davis, man. We haven't got to see him at all this whole preseason.
I'm nervous for how excited you are on that. I'm nervous for you for how excited you are. I don't see him coming out there in game one and being the featured guy.
Like I said, I mean, Decker and Taylor and
Matthews.
Matthews is in year two.
He's like the forgotten man.
He was last year. He was benched early last year. I mean, he's way better.
Andre Johnson out there.
Oh man,
against the Raiders.
Yeah, it was. So I think one of the things that we've probably not talked about enough, and part of it is because what do you really say? But in terms of importance, a subject that we haven't really talked about much is the special teams. We've mentioned it, and I don't know what to say about it other than they're building this roster with special teams in mind. I think I counted 2 or 3 different times in Malarkey's press conference about the 53-man roster, where even when he was talking about sit-start decisions, he's like, special teams, that'll decide it. I think that special teams has the chance to be a dramatic improvement, which you take a close game last year and you just improve special teams. I think that Yeah, I think I'm going to pick the Titans in this game.
Oh man, we did it again. All three.
Until you lose, until you see the true warts, it's hard to believe that your team can't win.
Yeah. Especially with all the improvements we made. I mean,
Right.
we were a 9-7 team. That's
Eh,
nothing to slouch at. Okay, you can
8-7
say
and
eight,
a gimme.
8-7. Yeah.
8-7 and a gimme.
Yeah.
Most of the time, the final game of the season is
Yeah.
meaningless anyway. So readjust every team's
Right,
record
right.
for history.
A winning team, let's say that.
No, we were. It's totally fine. We were a 9-7 team. That's our record.
I thought it sounded like you were building it. There was going to be something else after that. No, so
John Boy, let me just tell you something real fast. Last year, Amari Cooper had 4 catches for 62 yards. I mean, I don't think he's going to have. I don't think he's going to have 12 catches for 200 yards.
Oh, great, Jinx! Thanks.
What did Crabtree do? I
Scotty.
honestly don't remember. I'm just curious.
Crabtree had a better game. He had 8 catches for 102.
What their tight end do? That usually is our weakness.
Well, Derek Carr had less than an 80 passer rating, and
Yeah,
it was a low-scoring game, wasn't it? I mean, it was.
They scored 17 points.
Yeah,
Jared Cook's going to go for over 100 yards on us.
I'd forgotten about Patterson, though. Patterson, you're right. I do remember reading some hype about him looking a lot better. I think the Raiders' offense is much better suited to him anyway than what he was doing in
they don't require
Minnesota.
football skills.
So let's zoom out a little bit here and kind of look at the season on a broader scale before we wrap up. I have no idea how long we've been going. That's the only bad thing about this Google Hangouts. I can never find out where to see it, but probably about 40 minutes or so. But yeah, so
that's about right.
I was going to say there is this year in terms of the division, the Titans absolutely need to seize this opportunity because I don't know that an opportunity like this is going to come around again. I mean, you look at the other teams in this division right now. The Colts are just, as long as Andrew Luck is out, I mean, you can't expect them to do much of anything. Now, they do get the Rams the first game, so if his injury is not that bad, then they could very well win the first game.
You want to hear the Colts point spread from opening till now? They went from a 3-point favorite to a 3.5-point underdog to the Rams.
Ooh. Yeah. That's what Andrew Luck will do for you. But
They're underdogs to the Rams?
3.5 points.
Oh, man. I know they got rid of Fisher, but come on.
Hey,
Jared Goff.
Rams are sneaky good defense.
The Colts might still have a better quarterback than the Rams. Come on.
That's also without Aaron Donald.
Oh, man.
Wow.
Surely they got to get him back.
Listen, pick up the Rams defense in fantasy football. I've already done it.
Especially for week 1.
Without Andrew Luck, the Colts suck. They suck.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting to. Like, however long he's out, I mean, that's just time that we need to be taking advantage. The Jags, their quarterback situation is in shambles. Now, they could have a much better defense this year. Texans, I think it's pretty safe to say they're going to have a really good defense. But offensively, they have a huge question mark at quarterback too. All 3 of the other division teams, major questions at quarterback right now. And I know when we do our preseason every year, we kind of look through and we talk about who are the good quarterbacks that you're going to face when you're doing your win-loss. And I mean, even if you expect Luck to come back week 4, week 5, whatever, I mean, that's still a quarter of the season probably that he's going to miss. It's a golden opportunity for the Titans. This has to be the year they get over the division hump. I mean, they have to just tear down the door of the problem of the Colts and splitting with the Jags and whatever, splitting with the Texans. Looks like the Jags are the last game this year. So, I mean, if you will not find a better opportunity just in terms of the way things are shaping up with the other teams. So,
dude, if you just set aside the division, if you just look at the quarterbacks we're facing this year, there's like 4 good ones. It's bad.
Yeah. I mean,
And
the first part of the season is the toughest stretch, really.
Right.
Towards the end of the year, the last 3 games, we get the Niners, the Rams and Jags at home.
Do we have 4 of our first 5 games against playoff teams? I think we do.
Yeah.
Dolphins and Texans are 2 of them, though. I mean, I wouldn't give them any special treatment because they were in the playoffs last year. And I don't think the Texans have a question at quarterback. They're bad at quarterback.
Yeah, the question is who's playing there.
Here's the thing with the Texans. I feel like they're being undersold this year a little bit. I don't know if it's the Titans hype just makes you want to automatically plug them in, but I don't think it's a given that we're going to beat them. They were a team that was pretty darn good for having jack crap at quarterback and missing JJ Watt. You're adding JJ Watt back, and they can't be worse than they were at quarterback. They're a team that I think could be a lot better than most people are giving them credit for right now. Because they seem like people are just saying, like, yeah, the Texans.
That's what I'm saying. The Texans won every single close game last year, and they had a negative point differential for the season.
Did we have somebody told me the other day, and I haven't looked it up. Did we have a negative point differential?
Oh, heck no.
No, ours was positive, I'm pretty sure.
That's why
not even close. The Titans were in the top 7 or 8 in scoring or something.
Yeah, I didn't have it handy, so I couldn't contradict him, but I was like, really? That's shocking.
The Texans also were, if not the lowest scoring team in the league, they were in the bottom 3.
But their defense is so good, and they're getting JJ Watt back.
You ain't having a winning record if they do the same thing on offense that they did last year. It ain't going to happen.
Did you have them in the Super Bowl last year? Like, you were talking about them preseason like Super Bowl.
Me?
Yeah. Weren't you like, because you had the Titans at 10 wins, but the Texans winning the division? You thought they were going to be like real good.
Since I can't remember, I'm going to say no.
Wise.
Yeah, listen to this. The point differentials for last year, the Texans were minus 49.
Yeah. What was your point scored?
Titans were plus 3.
Plus 3 is not much.
Colts were plus 19. Jags were minus 82. The Texans points scored. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's where it's bad.
79. The Titans, in comparison, 381.
How many were worse than the Texans? Do you have the whole league in front of you?
Yeah, let's see. 270. Okay, the Jets at 275.
The Jets, right there with them.
The Browns at 264. And Bears also 279.
The Jets were that bad last year.
Oh my gosh. Listen to the Rams. Holy cow. The Rams 224 points.
Yeah, Jeff Fisher.
That's the worst.
Yeah, look at the Texans are right there with these teams.
Yeah. In terms of points scored. It was the number one their defense was the only reason they were able to. And in the one game against us, it was the special teams.
Yep.
That beat us pretty much.
Every single thing that could go the Texans' way in these games did last year. It's not going to happen again unless their offense gets way better.
But is any improvement or like combination of improvements for the Titans better than getting JJ Watt? Like that's the thing that I just keep coming back to. It's like you're adding JJ Watt. Like,
well, there's no way to know how he's going to be either.
Yeah.
I mean, it's JJ Watt, so you think he will, but
having Marcus Mariota over Savage or what's their rookie guy's name?
Watson.
Watson, is 3 times better than having JJ Watt.
No, what I'm saying is, if you take the Texans last year, going into this year, they added JJ Watt. If you take the Titans last year, going into this year, we added a couple of rookie wide receivers and Eric Decker. Like, is that really better? Or special teams alone might be better?
Well, is their defense going to be any better? Their defense was already among the best.
Yeah, so now you're not going to score anything against them. They're going to be Baltimore of Ray Lewis years.
Good. No, that's going to be Seattle this year.
They lost some secondary players too. They lost their best secondary player.
Who was that?
Bouye to the Jaguars.
To the Jaguars. Jaguars defense is no slouch.
On paper, yeah, they should dominate.
but their quarterback.
Yeah,
and Is J.J. Watt going to stay healthy anyway? I mean,
Yeah, well, I honestly don't think he was quite. I remember having discussions about how he was not quite as good towards the end before he was injured. So who knows what he is now.
All right, so we all predicted the Titans to win this first game. I'm going to run down the schedule real quick, and as I'm doing that, you guys just give me your gut reactions after we're done for season predictions. So week 1, we get the Raiders at home. Week 2 at Jacksonville. Week 3, we get the Seahawks at home. Week 4 at the Texans. Week 5 at the Dolphins. Week 6, Colts at home. Week 7 at the Browns. Week 8, we go on a bye. Week 9, Ravens at home. Week 10, Bengals at home. Week 11 at the Steelers. Week 12 at the Colts. Week 13, Texans at home. Week 14 at the Cardinals. Week 15 at the 49ers. And then 16 and 17, we get the Rams and Jags at home. What will the Titans finish this year, you guys think?
I've already picked mine before the podcast.
You put it on the board?
I'm going to say 11-5.
11-5.
I think they're a lot better. I don't think their schedule's all that difficult. And I think the division, this is all barring injuries to the Titans, but to me, they're clearly the best team in the division.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I would say that they have a chance to be the best team in the division, but I wouldn't say clearly. Hopefully, Andrew Luck is still injured by the time we play them the first time, at least.
They've got problems even with a healthy Luck.
Yeah, but they've always had problems with a healthy Luck, and they still win.
Still beat us, at least.
Well, they were basically they were one step away from us. They were a gimme week 17 away from having the same record as us, and he was playing injured last year, and they beat us twice. Like, I just refuse to assume that we can beat them until we do.
But the Titans team, in my opinion, is much better than last year compared to the other 3 teams.
Yeah, we've definitely got a lot of improvements.
The Titans defense is way better than last year. I mean, the preseason is scaring people. Forget the preseason. Look at what they did. Their defense is way better. They're going to get more turnovers. They're going to stop the pass a lot better. And they already had a good run defense, and they still will.
I know we talked about the defense before, but I didn't get the sense that you thought they'd be way better, just should be improved. What would you say makes them way better, out of curiosity?
The back 7, the upgrade to the back 7 with Jayon Brown, Logan Ryan, Byard at safety, the cornerbacks. I mean, they did to the secondary what they did last year with the running backs and the offensive line. That's how much they've improved the back 7. And those 2 units last year made a huge jump. And I think the back 7 will this year.
Jamal's just stalling his prediction.
I'm trying to do some quick math.
I'm on it. Honestly, I look at this, like, in my head, gut reaction, I'm like 9-7. When I look at this, though, when I actually look at the teams, and I know it's like impossible to predict, but when I look at the teams, even if I give them their split with the Texans, let's say we finally get the hump off our back, split with the Colts, even split with the Jags, so there's 3 losses. Lose to the Seahawks. I think they're going to be tough to beat this year. That's 4 losses. Then maybe they lose at Pittsburgh. That's 5. Other than that, I mean, and that's me like stretching. Last year we looked at it and we're like, oh, Chiefs lost, Broncos lost, Packers lost, and they beat them all. But I'm going to say 10-6. I think we lose a couple that we shouldn't. And then I think we lose to teams like the Seahawks, split a couple in the division. But 11-5 is not at all out of the realm of possibility, in my opinion. I say 10-6, and hopefully division champs.
10-6 will win the division.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, 9-7 tied for it last year. So, all right, Jamal.
That end stretch of our schedule is real nice.
It is. It really is.
That beginning stretch of our schedule is real suck. Yeah, I think when I'm looking at this, a pessimist would say 9-7. I think you could go 10-6 pretty easily. Just the non-conference teams we play, there's a couple of them that, okay, yeah, maybe the Dolphins give us trouble. They made the playoffs. They turned it around. Who knows what Jay Cutler does to that offense? The Raiders are a challenge. Seahawks will be a challenge, but like, okay, Browns, okay, we better not lose that. Ravens, we better not lose that. Bengals, we could easily win that. Cardinals, we could easily win that. I think Steelers, I would say, is a loss. And then you're down to like 49ers, Rams.
Yeah,
We better win those. So there's a bunch of like, we'd better win these games.
exactly.
And then a handful of, yeah, I could see us winning. I could see us losing, I guess. And then a handful, we probably will lose. So yeah, I think 9-7 is pretty reasonable, and you could go 10-6. If I had to pick one, I'd go 9-7 because I'm a pessimist.
Yeah, the fact that you just said the pessimistic view is 9-7, I mean, that shows you alone how far this team's come. Last year we were 9-7 was a complete. I mean, we were thrilled to be 9-7. Now, if the pessimistic view is 9-7, which even 9-7 could very well win the division. I mean, it won it last year. It was just a matter of tiebreakers. If we beat the division teams this year and go 9-7, if we find a way to sweep at least one of them, then 9-7 might still do it again.
Yeah,
but
I mean, but the coin toss games can all go against you, and then your record takes a big dive. So it could also be 7 and whatever. But I think if you're looking at it and just predicting based on the schedule, you should win 9 games at least.
Scotty, do you know what's the Vegas latest for the Titans?
Well, some of them had them around 9 wins, but I don't know the latest.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to say, though, last year, I can promise you one thing that Mariota is not going to do. There are not going to be 3 or 4 games where he throws pick sixes or has fumbles returned for touchdowns.
I hope not.
I guarantee you, if anything else, that's been hammered into him more than anything.
Yeah.
And they just lost, they at least had two losses that they could have easily won. And I mean, just like I said, the roster is so much better. It's so much better.
Of course, injuries could always disrupt anything. We always, that's always a caveat with any team. But yeah.
And last year we had almost none. So
yeah,
that's something to consider. But
and I know no one likes to talk about it this early on, but you look at a team like the Raiders, if it comes down to a wild card situation, this week 1 game could actually end up meaning a lot more than it seems right now. So be great to get that out of the way early, especially when you consider, man, looking at the last, I didn't even think about that till just now. You look at the last 4 weeks of the season, 3 of those are against NFC teams.
Well, if you look at the AFC teams we play, those are some of the more challenging games. The Steelers at Steelers. Bengals are no pushover. Ravens, we should beat them.
It's going to be anything with tiebreakers, though, then we're going to need to have at least decent record here early in the year against teams like the Raiders, Jags, all these AFC teams.
That's assuming, these teams are what we think they are. We did the same thing last year. And it didn't work.
Not at all.
It never does.
It never does. Yep.
Everyone wrote the Titans down last year as a win, I guarantee you.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny how I think last year all of us would have agreed our 3 toughest games got to be Green Bay, Kansas City, Denver. And Titans won all 3 of them. So
you know who I want to see this year that's on the schedule that I think we're chalking up as a good quarterback that I'm not sure he is anymore? Roethlisberger.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Could very well be on the.
They turned into running the ball last year, and he was pretty awful down the stretch.
We'll have to see how Le'Veon Bell turns out, too. I mean, you can assume he'll come back and just plug right back in, but I don't think that's always a given.
You got the Cardinals near the end of the year. Palmer's probably going to be out by then, as per usual. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting year. I can't wait. I'm so glad So glad that the preseason is finally.
Oh man.
I mean, how much longer, really? I can't. It's mind-boggling to me that, and everybody always says money, the money, the money. I just can't imagine they make all that much. I guess it's the TV they still make a lot off of because people aren't going to the games. You look at the crowd; it's terrible.
Yeah, but they make you buy preseason games with the regular season
with season tickets. Yeah,
and the home team in the preseason keeps 100% of the gate. So they're not canceling those anytime soon.
No, they're not. I find the preseason to be just a nearly complete joke. The fact that people are like PFF is putting out ratings on players. I think their highest rated wide receiver this year got cut. Like, why are people looking at ratings of wide receivers in games that weren't playing real defenses and playing against like scrubs and backups and like, come on,
Kalen Reed,
why do we care?
Down the corner, man.
Woods was in contention to start on the defensive line. Mars was the backup left guard.
Yeah. All right, guys. What are we forgetting? Anything? I mean, this time next week, most likely we're going to be moving to Sunday recordings from now on. I know Jamal and I are both going to the game next week, so might be not as great recording sound. So we'll see how that ends up. But we want to try and get something out to you guys on the night of the game when it's all fresh in your mind. So yeah, look for the Two-Tone Crew a lot more on a regular basis for the duration of the season, and can't wait. It's hard to believe, especially you and I, Jamal, how long we've been doing this thing now, and even Scotty. I mean, you've been pretty consistent for a couple of years now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's nice to be in a time period where we can do pessimistic winning seasons.
Isn't it? Yeah.
It was really bad for a while.
This podcast has been going through. Were we podcasting during the VY years?
No.
Like at the tail end, maybe?
No. It was Locker.
I know we were podcasting with Locker.
We were podcasting towards the end of Matt Hasselbeck's year, I think.
2011.
I think that's when we picked it up. And I have to say that if we were as bad as some of that time now, like one of the challenges, one of the reasons why we don't do more in the off season is we've had kids since we started this podcast, not Scotty, but and it makes it a lot more difficult, surprising amount more difficult, not just to find the time, but also just to feel like, is this a priority? And I guarantee you, if the Titans were terrible right now, I would have said, hey, enjoy the podcast, guys. Like, I'll still be around. I'll still talk, but there's no way I can make a week-to-week commitment if this team was terrible. It just would not be worth the time.
Yeah. All right. We'll just wrap it up here. As always, keep it tuned to TitansReport.com. You can find us on Twitter at Titans Report. I am at Retro Raconteur on Twitter. Jamal is at Jamalisms. Leave us a review on iTunes if you haven't. That'll help more people find the podcast. We have perfect 5-star rating on there right now. This one, I always love this one. This review's been on there for a while. It says, stationed in Afghanistan. I was really missing hearing about the Titans. Started listening about 2 episodes in, and I've been very, very impressed. Really hit the spot, and in my opinion, is better than, we'll leave out the name of a local Nashville radio host and the other Nashville radio guys back home. And another review says, impressive show with enthusiastic hosts. Highly recommend. So you don't even have to leave a written review if you just want to give us a star rating. We're also on Android. We're on Stitcher. Pretty much anywhere you can get podcasts, I believe we're on there now. So definitely leave us a review. Let's see. What am I forgetting? There's a Facebook group, facebook.com/Titans Report. Anybody ever post there? I don't know.
No.
You might as well just
every
post
once in a while I'll
board.
remember to post some of these episodes there, but that's about all that goes on there. I mean, TitansReport.com is where to find us. If you're on the internet, why wouldn't you go to the actual website?
Yeah. And voicemail line, if you want to leave a voicemail, 615-900-0282. Once again, that's 615-900-0282. Every now and then we'll do a big voicemail show where we take all of your voicemails, take all of your thoughts, put them in the episode. If you do send a voicemail and try and keep it under 2 minutes, that makes it a lot easier for us to get them featured in the podcast.
And the drunker, the better, personally, I think. If you can get real lit before you call in, that's always helpful.
Any new listeners? Thank you for tuning in and welcome. Scotty, what was that last thought there?
I've got to throw this in. It's too
Alrighty.
lazy. As long as the Titans don't lose to the Raiders like A&M just lost to UCLA, we'll be okay. They were winning 44-10. They just lost 45-44.
Oh,
goodness!
goodness.
Going into the fourth quarter, they were winning 44-10.
What? Fourth quarter?
They just lost 45-44. So
Oh,
as long as that doesn't
gosh.
happen in the Titans Raiders game, I'll be happy.
That is amazing.
I can take a loss. I can't take like the emotional roller coaster of that.
I'm just pulled it up now. That's insane.
That's insane.
Good note to end on. All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you all again very soon.